It's hard to describe what an NDE is. It was like this whiteout where I felt floating, and in these almost imagine a meditation where you've gone so deep, so connected, so almost like you're solid, but you're way into the ethers. It was that, but 10 times, 100 times more. And then having that experience with my grandmother and her literally saying to me, you have so much more work to do, go back.
Hey, welcome to Focusing In, formerly the Hemi-Sync podcast. I'm Garrett Stevens. We're speaking with Lisa Williams and Barry Goldstein today, mostly about our new Hemi-Sync collaboration entitled Remembrance of Self. However, we'll also be talking more broadly about being psychic, becoming psychic, and how music and expanded states of consciousness enter into that. Lisa Williams is an accomplished author of books on mediumship and spirituality, including Survival of the Soul, Life Among the Dead, Was That a Sign from Heaven, and her newest book, Divine Wisdom. In addition to her own television show on Lifetime, Lisa has appeared on programs including Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Anderson Cooper 360, and The Oprah Winfrey Show. In 2013, Lisa launched the Lisa Williams International School of Spiritual Development, committed to delivering world-class spiritual learning opportunities with her unique hands-on method of teaching. Barry Goldstein, with over 3 decades of experience, is a visionary composer and sound expert at the intersection of music and healing. His Grammy-winning production and vibrational expertise blend artistic expression with scientific innovation. Barry collaborates with industry leaders like Dr. Dan Amen and Dr. Joe Dispenza, harnessing music for emotional and cognitive wellness. He coined the term acousticeuticals for his innovative products merging sound with health benefits, widely used in hospitals and medical practices. Barry's work in musical branding creates sonic signatures for corporations, entrepreneurs, and influencers, magnifying their missions. His approach to film and TV music leverages his knowledge of music's emotional impact, enhancing storytelling. Barry's portfolio includes the Grammy-winning 69 Freedom Special with Les Paul and ambient soundscapes for Shirley MacLaine, charting on Billboard's top 10 New Age albums. He also focuses on teaching music's therapeutic applications, furthering his impact on wellness and personal growth. Barry is also one of the leading Hemi-Sync artists of all time. At the end of the conversation, and make sure you stick around, we'll play you a brief sample from Remembrance of Self so you can get a taste for it. But without further delay, I'm very pleased to bring you Lisa Williams and Barry Goldstein. So Barry, Lisa, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for doing this. Thanks so much for collaborating with us on producing Remembrance of Self. Barry and I have done this a lot, so I think the audience kind of knows us both. But Lisa, you are new to the Hemi-Sync audience. And so I thought it'd just be helpful, something that I like to ask all psychics when they come on, is how did you first know you were psychic, and how did your gifts come to the fore?
So, I think we're all born knowing, but I don't think we know it's actually psychic. And, that's interesting. But thank you so much for having me on your show, first of all. But yeah, I think this whole process of how did I know I was psychic? I think I was saying weird and wonderful things as a kid. My mom was always saying, hey, come away from the window. You're not supposed to be looking out there. And I'm talking to a new friend I'm talking to, and it happened to be someone who was dead, just random things. Mm-hmm. But my grandmother was actually a psychic medium in the UK. And what ended up really, truly happening was she said to me, you're going to continue with my work. And you're going to be in LA, you're going to be in America. And I went, no, I don't speak to dead people. I don't do anything like this. And then lo and behold, here I am 30 years later, now doing the work. So I feel like I literally stumbled on it. It's not something back then that we went to school for, or it's not something that we started to train. I literally fell into it. But I think I've always been psychic. I've always been, been able to connect into the other side.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And did I read somewhere that you had a near-death experience? Am I understanding that? You did. Okay.
Yeah. I was living, I was actually visiting LA at the time. Uh-huh. And I was there for, like 3 months. And I had this, in fact, it's funny because I was only talking about it today. I had a problem in the OBGYN area, and I was rushed into hospital. And before I knew it, saw this floating white light. It was almost like, imagine a meditation on steroids, when you go up into the quantum and you kind of really connected, and then everything was white, and it was just such an amazing experience to have. And then I was like, I don't want to leave. And then my grandmother was there, and she's like, you've got to go back. And I went, yeah, but why? This is, I don't want to. And it was a really pivotal moment for me, because it was in that, I mean, literally, it was in, after that happened, my whole life just literally turned through this turn of events. And that's the reason why I'm here in America. And that's how my career took off on the big stages. And it was a real pivotal moment. And I often find that people who talk about near-death experiences, they have those real pivotal spaces and moments afterwards.
Yeah, fascinating. Let's definitely stick a pin in that and come back to it.
Yeah.
So you also run a psychic school, right? And so lots of the people that are listening to this or watching, they no doubt want to develop psychic skills. That's part of why they're into Hemi-Sync. What would you say are some of the most important attributes for aspiring psychics to have?
So honestly, I think it's about being authentic, the authenticity in this world. And I think I've seen this over the last, 20 years that I've been teaching, that we can be spiritual, and we can say that we're spiritual. We can say all the right things. We can do all the right things. But when we're not authentic, and we're not showing up as our authentic self, people read through that, and true to what you believe, because who knows what else is out there in this world.
Right. And so that kind of leads into this exercise, right? It's called remembrance of self. And so for people that might not understand why they need this or what it's for, thinking, well, of course I know who I am. And maybe you've already kind of answered it, but what exactly are we talking about when we say, or when we talk about remembering yourself? It's about being authentic, and that involves, what do you think?
Yeah. So for me, when I was recording this track with Barry, I feel like there was just something deep here that people are crying out for. And when we were discussing it, what happened is we were like thinking about, what do people need? What are people missing? What is it that they're struggling with? And they're being pulled from every angle, every way in life, social media, just needing to show up, emails. There's this feeling of, I have to, there's such an expectation. And when we take away all the external noise, what we're left with is ourself. But it's in that moment that some of us don't even know who we are without that external noise. And so that's why I think remembrance of self was so powerful to both of us. And I can only speak for myself, where people need to remember who they are, that authentic space, what they came to the earth to do, what they want to do, their inner thoughts, their inner feelings, and really be connected into that space. So therefore they can start leading their day in that true, authentic space. That's what it was for me. I don't know about Barry.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit it on the head with people. So there's so many things that people are pulled by in this world, and it's easy to get stuck, in the analytical mind, or who we think we are. And yet there's a vibrational part of us that we come in with, a signature that I think is easy to lose sight of, with all the other stimuli that's going on. And returning to self, or finding a home base where we can connect with our heart and be in that safe space. So peel back those analytical layers of who we think we are, and come back to the essence of what we've come in to do, or what we've come in to be. And that essence of like the to do and to be kind of unfolding into our day, like the to do, is just really what our chalice is filled up with. But the chalice is really who do we want to become in every day? What essence do you want to come? And the heart's energy is not as simplistic as people think. I think it could be more complex, that it's not just the compassion, loving, mushy smushy side, but also the courageous side that needs to come in and own self again as well. And I think that's part of the journey for me, was creating the soundtrack for you to just really, you just went into the booth and knew exactly where you were going, or were able to surrender into it, of the music kind of creating the soundtrack for both sides of those, the compassionate heart, but the courageous heart to own self again. And something really special happened in the moment where the two intertwine that goes beyond the explicable. And what Lisa and I usually like do together is it's the magic of where the music and the message meet and create something that, can live for a long time and be used over and over and over again. And still you will get something out of it, even if you did this every day for the next year. So that's my take on it.
I was listening to a rough cut this morning, and I don't think you guys have even signed off on this yet, but what I heard was beautiful. Like, Lisa, your voice is perfect for it. And Barry, as usual, your music is perfect. And it just created this lovely holding environment. I actually have some friends right now that are beginning therapy, and so they're starting to strip away a lot of this, external influence, this to-do list, these outer influences. And what they're left with is actually kind of uncomfortable for them. Like, they don't totally understand what's there for them, or like who they are really. And the importance of this holding environment that we're creating with this sonic soundscape, with this guided exercise, I think is perfect for people that are experiencing that. And from there, I mean, you can develop psychic gifts, certainly, but just having the holding to kind of come back to yourself, I think is really important.
Yeah, I think in this world, and just to address those people who are in different types of therapy, I think they need an anchor, and this is an anchor for them, because what it does is it brings them into that, and it is scary, and it is a vulnerable place that people have to go into. And what actually people realize is that when they go and do these alternative therapies, or they do sit and talk therapies, whatever they may do, actually their intuition heightens, because what they've done is they've locked away all of the external noise. They're starting to journal. They're starting to really connect with who they are. And that's where the intuition lies. That's where the knowledge and the beauty and the magic and the warm and squishy and gooey stuff comes about. And that's the powerful part of it. And so I feel like remembrance of self really does that.
Yeah. Perfect. Barry, you want to talk a bit more about the creative process with this one? What were you going for musically? How did it come together?
Yeah, so I think for this one, what I really love about it was it's just not your typical meditation piece. It does have some really beautiful music that targets heart coherence and gives the listener a chance to kind of come into that space and move into a more coherent state. But then it also elevates and is very inspirational too, with a piece of music that I created called The Gift. And it's really a reminder, that it's a building process. It starts off really small with a beautiful piano line, and then it keeps kind of building as well. And it's very symbolic of self, where we're given these clues and we're giving small pieces and guidance. And as we nurture that, it opens up and becomes more expansive as we kind of, we add onto that nurturing and we nurture it more. It keeps growing and growing, the gift, until we are able to birth something that is symbolic of self as well. So within that remembrance, it's also about legacy and mission and everything else for people who are doing work that might be stuck, and they might have a challenge in creation as well. This would be a great exercise to just tap back into that curious energy of the child and to move into a flow state, to journal with it as well. And, of course, for me, and working with Hemi-Sync is, the extra gumbo is like the added technology of moving into a coherent brain state with that coherent heart. And that's really the powerful threesome here, is Lisa's amazing guidance and verbiage combining with the music, and then Hemi-Sync really, adding the extra layer of moving into coherent brain states with that as well. So that's what I love, is it's not either or, it's all of the above that create the power of the collaboration.
It sure is, and it's powerful indeed. would it be okay now if we doubled back to talk about your near-death experience, Lisa? You
Sure.
talked about it as a turning point. I'm just kind of curious what your life was like before and after. A lot of our listeners are fascinated by NDEs.
Yeah. So honestly, my life wasn't on track. I was living in the UK. I'd come over to America. I'd been offered an opportunity to come to America and just, experience what it was like. But I was really in this shifting point. I guess I was at a crossroads. I hate that word, but I was at that crossroads, not really truly knowing what it was that I wanted to do, where I was going, or what was going on. And in that moment, I had a young son. I had a boyfriend that I was dating that I wasn't sure where it was going. And, I was just I was on a treadmill of boring life. And I know it sounds crazy that, oh, you went to LA for 3 months, but it was a boring life. And I didn't once have a question about my son, knowing that he was going to be okay. I didn't have a question about my responsibilities. And then when I came back from it, the most miraculous thing happened is, I literally had to extend my visa because I was here for 87 days. And I had to extend my visa by another 30 days because I needed an operation. And that never happens on an ESTA visa, a free visa waiver. And I walked into the embassy, it got it stamped in 5 minutes, out. And before I knew it, then I was having phone calls. And that's when I met Merv Griffin. It was literally boom, 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 almost like just everything changed, everything opened up. And I think for me, in that belief of when I had this NDE, I knew that there was a reason why I was here. I knew that there was a reason why I needed to come to the earth plane. And then I felt there was a purpose. It was so much bigger than I was. And I think that's what I got from that NDE experience, that whatever it is, was so much bigger than what I had and also what I could control. And I think that was what it was for me, is I had to let go of control.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it made you a better psychic?
I mean, there's part that I would actually say yes, it did. But I think I was working very, very well as a psychic. I had this, incredible following and everything else in the UK already. But I think what it did is it elevated my pathway. And I do feel that events that happened pushed me into developing my work a lot stronger and a lot bigger and a lot more bolder. And I do think I became much more confident and aware, and I took my gift so much more seriously after that space.
So the start of your TV career kind of happened after that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of what snowballed me into it. And I never forget somebody saying to me, and I had a reading with them in LA, and they said, "You're going to be famous. You're going to be on TV." And I'm like, everybody's in LA on TV or wanting to. And I thought, but seriously, it actually, I was like, no. And I didn't even know who Merv Griffin was until, I met him. And then next thing I know, I'm like, wow, this actually could happen. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is.
You were ahead of your time. I mean, you were on TV with this like way before the Long Island Psychic, and right, you were one of the first ones to have your own show.
Yeah, I was one of the I was the first to have the reality show, because before they were more staged and they were more set in into more audience based. Sylvia Brown, John Edwards, Jen Van Prague, but I was the first one that had their reality show on there, or docu-series. And it was a real eye-opener. And the amount of experiences I've had, and I'm very grateful for that whole time in my life, because it really opened me up into a whole different way. And I met so many incredible people who need this work, who are struggling with life, who need that authenticity, need that remembrance of self, need that that feeling of safety and knowing who they are, that anchor. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah. And
Mm.
in working with people, like, do you find that it's difficult to convey that message, or maybe more difficult in working with, say, like everyday normal people versus like more high profile famous people? Like, is it tougher to get that across to them, or like how would you compare?
So, let's talk about the A-listers and the celebrities. They
Um,
all have their own issues. Everybody does. And some would say they probably have more issues than most, because their life is a lot more complex.
mhm,
And what people see on, social media, they only see a snippet. We see those edited videos, everything looks fancy and la 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 la. But reality is that there's a whole other side that's a little bit disorganized, maybe dysfunctional, or maybe not working in the way that they would want. And so I feel that high profile people that are coming to you, they believe in it and they trust in you and they want that guidance.
mhm.
And then you have the everyday person, which majority of people that I work with are the everyday person, are exactly the same. They are struggling with life. They need some clarity. They need to understand where their next phase of life is going. They're grieving, or they have issues from their grief. There's so many different avenues that people are going down. And I think the only ones that I struggle with are the skeptics that are trying to logically make sense of it all. And
Right.
I say, let go of the logic, because it doesn't work. And I think that's the only resistance I come across now.
Hmm.
Mm.
Interesting. And how about in developing psychics and training up new psychics? Do you find generally that certain faculties are developed more readily, whether it be like clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance, etc., or is it just different for each person?
I think everything's different for everybody else.
Hmm.
And I think what I've done in my teachings is I've come away from using those terms, clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience. And the reason is because it's like learning a different language. As we know, within our brain, when we start complicating it, then our brain starts going, oh, have I got it right? What's going on? So I start to use hearing, seeing, knowing, touch, feel, smell, all of those. And I think everybody has their innate sense, that innate sense of knowing. And then they think that they have to see spirit or they have to hear them, but I think it's very important that they work with their strongest sense first. In
Hmm.
their Honestly, everybody is always intuition. So I always work on developing their intuition. And then we slowly build up into whether it's psychic, whether it's mediumship. But I think if we start with the intuition and building up, that's the important part. And one of the other important parts is I always make them work on themselves first.
Hmm.
Because as I said right at the very beginning, if they can't show up as an authentic being and they don't know who they are, then how can they do that work for somebody else to help somebody else discover who they need to be?
Yeah, got it. Makes sense.
Mm, yeah.
So let's see. And how much of a priority would you say someone has to put on this type of training if they're serious about it? Like, does it really have to be number one? Can it be lower down on the priority list, or is it really front and center if you want to be a psychic?
So I actually will say to you, yes, you can make it front and center, and I think it's important to be front and center, but actually, it's important to also live too. And the
Mm.
reason why is your life experiences are only going to help your readings. So, for instance, if somebody loves video games and they're like, I am dedicated to gaming, I want to be gaming 4 hours a day, and that's their thing. I'm like, fill your boots, go for it. And the reason why is that that's actually helping them getting into that relaxed state, and that's where their intuition is going to fly in. That's when they're going to start getting things. Who they're meeting on the gaming, they're actually able to connect in more than I can, because that's not my world.
Mm.
And so therefore, when what they're doing is they're learning their online world, they're learning different people, and you'll find that when you're working with clients, they gravitate to you based upon who you are, your experiences. And so you'll find that a lot of people will gravitate and they'll be able to talk about that. And
Mm.
I will truly say that a good psychic is a nosy psychic. That's one of the things I always say. A good psychic is a nosy psychic. You got to be really nosy. But not only that, is you've got to have a variety of interests, because you can't, otherwise you find it boring. You're just talking about one subject all the time. But you really do have to have an expansive interest, and I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. What else do you guys have cooking? Anything coming up that folks should know about?
Lisa, I'm letting you go first.
Well, we have Remembrance of Self coming out, which I think is really awesome. And we also have an event. Barry, do you want to talk about the event, or?
I'll let you lead, Lisa.
All right. Okay. Can I bring up the date? I think it's in March. 1 second. Good. When is it?
This will be out before March.
We have so we have an event that is going to be coming up, and it's Barry and I. So we actually do it's VASA. So VASA, which is voice and sound activations. And we have events that are coming up. So you can just go to either one of our websites and you can actually see for those. So that's actually coming up for me.
Cool. Is that over Zoom or is that in person?
It's on Zoom.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, but we have done live events as well together. Mm-hmm. And yeah, VASA came together within COVID. Garrett, actually, we started it. We had met many years before in Lilydale. Actually, we met in Celebrate Your Life, and then we kind of started working together in Lilydale, New York, which is if you don't know, it's a town that is primarily made up of psychics and mediums.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and we started doing work there. But during COVID, we came together to start creating tools that could help people in terms of what Lisa's talking about. The beyond, our normal lives, and how do we tap into self more. And that actually started during COVID. And we just continue to create programs to help people kind of within remembrance of self is, I think, is a kind of something that weaves through a lot of the things that we do is coming home to the heart and giving people tools to use that even beyond the guided meditations, utilizing the voice, using specific tones, using specific techniques with sound as well. And yeah, you'll be hearing a lot of new events coming because we're constantly in creation together. And I just wanted to say one thing, that when we created Remembrance of Self, this was not done with a script. And literally most of the work that we did in terms of meditations that we've done together have been in the moment after being inspired by the tracks. Lisa really just goes in and lets it come through, and is really a master in the guided part of that. And you can tell, when you listen to it, that it's not read, it's not scripted. And I think people are going to really enjoy it. And no matter where we are, we're always able to improve, and even masters get stuck. So I think it's kind of from the most beginners to the most advanced people. We all have the same challenges. And I think this will help shake loose anything that's holding you back. So we're excited.
So true.
One of the things that actually happened, I've just got to speak to this because I don't think people realize working with Barry is like, I was like, oh my God, this is the king of this world. And I was really nervous because we'd done our work, and, we'd struck up this friendship over COVID. And, I'd worked in my studio, he'd worked in his. And so we just threw tracks back and forth. But then when I started to work and I went actually to his home and his amazing studio, he's like, right, get in the booth. And I went, and I was panicking. I'm like, oh my God. And what was so interesting is he just started to play this piece of music. And it wasn't the piece that we're listening to, but it happened to become a piece. He started to play and I went, okay, I'm ready. And with his there's something, the synergy between us, the magic that is there, it's so powerful because you actually feel the energy, and he just sits and plays. And I don't know how he does it, but this music just comes out of his essence, his being, his soul. Yeah. And then suddenly you can't help but get onto the same energy wavelength that Barry's in, and being able to bring these words. And it's like it's channeled from spirit. And it is such a beautiful experience. And so anyone who's listened to any of Barry's music, even I choose it to be my background meditation music, or my background, if I'm really going to dive into something, I choose to listen to certain pieces just because I can feel the energy behind it. And I think that's what is so powerful. And so when we do these events, we come together. Barry's a wealth of knowledge. I don't know if you've ever sat there with, I mean, this guy's, Barry, I'm talking like you're not here. I'm so sorry. You have this wealth of knowledge, and I sit there sometimes with my mouth open. But when he teaches, and when he brings forward the information, it is so powerful, and with such confidence and such resonance that it connects with everybody. And so I feel very honored to be able to do these events with him. And it's just remarkable and life-changing. I think we've seen some real life-changing situations in them, haven't we?
We have, yeah. And I think that's what, at the coming together of this, it's really just beyond a meditation or a process. It's very palpable. Like you can feel it. Music's a carrier of information, not just of music, but of intention and emotion. And I think that you can really feel within this piece that there's something working with us together here beyond us, you know, to assist people. And sometimes I call that the extra gumbo that's in there, you know, but really it's connecting with the divine and feeling the divine within the piece. And I think that's what's going to make it so powerful for people, is that you can really you can feel that, you can feel the intentions, and you can feel, you know, the care and the love that Hemi-Sync puts into this as well. You know, this isn't just like, okay, well, let's put binaural beats in, like, you know, every other guy on YouTube. You know, there's Hemi-Sync has been doing this for 50 years, and they're masters at what they do. And literally there's engineers that work with this. There's a back and forth between us to make sure that everyone's happy with it. And, you know, it's not like a random experience. It's a lot of intentions on all levels here to be able to put this out in the quality that it's put out. And yeah, always excited, Garrett. You know that. I'm the number one fan of Hemi-Sync and Monroe because of the integrity and how you guys do things. Not just the technology, but how you do it as well.
And well, thanks for that. I mean, there's a reason why Barry is the most prolific Hemi-Sync artist, but you guys just did a great job of voicing what I was trying to articulate earlier, is that there was something like very authentic and symbiotic that comes through as you're listening to this. And I'm excited for other people to get the opportunity to listen to it themselves.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you both for doing this, and looking forward to doing it again.
Take a moment just to breathe, allowing your body just to settle in the space where you are right now, and let go. Let go of all the day that is around you. And just breathe into this place of now, where you are, and be present. Presence is the gift that we give ourselves
to receive all that we need. Allow yourself just to breathe.